Whether new to the community or a long-term Five Nights at Freddy's fan, you're likely aware of the meme and running joke about exotic butters. However, if you are one of the new fans brought in with security breach, there is a slim chance that you don't know the full story of this basket of wonders. So that's what I'm going to do today, bring you up to speed. In Sister Location, we play as Michael Afton as he works as a technician in Circus Baby's rentals. During his time there, he is guided by a hand unit with an automated voice who leads him along in his duties. There's a running joke where the hand unit asks him to put in answers on his keypad, but it's glitched out and thus leads to various results. Mike becomes Eggs Benedict, it chooses Angsty Teen as the automated voice for a portion of one night, Casual Bongos is the elevator music, which is in hindsight actually a really good music choice, and finally on the fifth night it offers Mike a special prize. For his good work, Mike gets a gift basket. It mentions the cash basket, but we can also assume that there's probably like a fruit basket, maybe a meat and cheese basket, plush basket, etc. Unfortunately, it misreads Mike's inputs and instead offers him up the exotic butters. Now, if you play through the secret final night, the Ennard boss fight, and reach the ending, Mike returns home and we're able to see the exotic butter basket perched on his television set. Then Ennard comes in and assumedly kills him. In the Ultimate Guide, which is heavily suggested to have been written by Mike himself, he pretty much confirms that he didn't want the exotic butters. He wanted the cash basket. In fact, he probably would have preferred any other basket to the butters. Ironically, since he seems to like popcorn. A rather basic joke, but it doesn't end here. After Markiplier made a comment about an Exotic Butters remix, and it received that remix, the joke became a recurring staple of Fnaf and has been referenced a few times since. Apparently, Exotic Butters appears in Ultimate Custom Night in the Toy Chica High School Years cutscene. I was a little doubtful of this, but then I looked and lo and behold, there it is, a sticker. Huh. Another little cameo is a promotional teaser for Fnaf AR, but this one is much easier to miss. See these 3 sticks of butter? Exotic Butters. Cute. Okay, on to bigger roles. Exotic Butter had 4 cameos in Help Wanted, all of which being rewards you have to collect from the prize counter. Firstly, you could win the Exotic Butter basket itself, with removable butters to reveal a secret button. Pressing the button used to show pictures of animatronics provided by Aaron Fechter, the owner of Creative Engineering Inc. and the creator of the Rockafire Explosion Band, an animatronic band that inspired Five Nights at Freddy's. The pictures were later removed for privacy reasons, as said by Scott, and replaced with teasers for the then upcoming paid DLC Curse of Dreadbear. Most people mistakenly think that FNAF is solely inspired by Chuck E. Cheese, but there's numerous connections between the franchise and this specific band, the Rockafire Explosion, and not just because the frontliner is a bear. Since I might not have a good chance to talk about them again, here's a quick summary on the Rockafire Explosion and the circumstances that led to Showbiz Pizza's erasure. So, the Rockafire Explosion is an animatronic band that consists of an ensemble cast of animal-themed animatronics. There's Billy Bob the Brown Bear, the soft-hearted face of the franchise, Looney Bird, his best bud and perpetually hammered companion, whom with he shares the stage, Mitzi Mozzarella, the mouse cheerleader and girl of the group, Fats Geronimo, the gorilla who played the keyboard and was really more of the leader of the group, or the most outspoken, Beach Bear, the laid-back surfer bear, Duke LaRue, a dog with his head in the clouds and a dream to be an astronaut, and finally, Rolf de Wolf, a wolf puppeteer who thought he was everyone's boss and real hot cheese, and his puppet Earl Schmerl, who would make cracks at his expense. They too shared their own separate stage. Now, the group and restaurant were competitors with Chuck E. Cheese before the companies sort of merged. There was a buyout, but from what I know, unlike what you might think, it was Chuck E. Cheese that was bought out, not Rockafire. The short version of a long story is that the higher-ups in the company wanted to get the rights from Aaron, but weren't willing to offer him anything in return. Basically, give us your characters and we'll use them, or we won't use them. Aaron said no because that's a horrible deal, and what proceeded was that the Rockafire characters were stripped from the restaurant. In a magical process known as concept unification, all the Rockafire characters were transformed into Chuck E. Cheese and Friends. Or, well, the suits were stripped off the endos and replaced. There's still Rockafire bands out there and the animatronics do exist, but this event unfortunately led to their existence being thrown into semi-obscurity. Anyway, let's move on. We're here to talk about butters, not bears. this cameo of exotic butters is sort of a given, considering that Help Wanted is like a compilation piece calling back to the past of Fnaf. But there is also the Butter for One candy bar, or Butter Bar. With a neat red bow and a basket background, capitalizing on the butter meme, it seems Fazbear Entertainment are really doubling down with this joke. There's also the exotic beverage, a can of assumedly butter-flavored soda, with a butterstick decorated background, the signature red bow, and the tagline smooth and tasty. There's also the single stick of butter that you can also collect. More butter, fun. The exotic butter joke did not end here. The most recent appearance is in Security Breach. It both appears on an arcade cabinet, and it appears in the secret Michael Afton FNAF 4 Easter egg room. You know, the one that added a lot of cryptic lore to a game with a very light story. Yet another callback to that joke from a few games ago. Now, I looked around and apparently this is the end of the exotic butters joke currently. At this rate, the exotic butters appeared more recently than a physical manifestation of the puppet and has had more appearances than Innard, Circus Baby, and really anything else from that game. Will it return? Likely yes. I'm going to be frank. I personally feel like the exotic butter joke might have gotten a little too much mileage. That's not to say that it wasn't ever funny, but to me, I feel like when it comes to comedic moments, when something is doubling down on it, it becomes less funny. The more you point out something as a joke and poke fun at it, the less funny it is. The more it just kind of becomes a tired reference. In recent years, Fnaf has tried to sew more comedy into the games, and that's not exactly a bad thing. Yes, it might take away from the horror tone, but it can also be charming. In Sister Location, its humor only slightly detracts from what is otherwise a very dark and overbearing story, so it's a little easier to swallow than, say, Security Breach, where there are jokes overlapping jokes, and not all of them hit. The little issue with FNAF's humor is twofold: subtlety and knowing when to let a joke end. The funniest exotic butters ever was the moment you see that gaudy basket sitting atop Mike's TV, because at that moment, it isn't just a callback to a past joke, it is the full through line. There's a mistake with the hand unit, and instead of getting a real reward, cash basket, fruit basket, anything better, Michael gets what seems to be the most niche and borderline useless basket. And then the punchline is it just silently sitting on top of his TV, unrefrigerated. This gaudy little basket punctuating a night of almost getting slaughtered by clowns. But when Exotic Butters is brought back, it no longer has the build-up and payoff of a joke. The context of the joke has changed. There is no punchline. It is a simple reference to a joke that no longer has the full context surrounding it. In recent titles, FNAF humor has pulled away from that sort of three-step joke outline. Sometimes it does, but most of the time its humor is comprised of self-referential and meta-humor, pointing out things it did that were funny and an attempt to wink at the audience, but what it tends to do is break immersion. The jokes have gone from, this company is shoddy and the practices are horrible, and here's some goofy stuff, to, look how awfully incompetent this company is, and remember when we made that joke? You've got the hand unit and dread unit constantly rambling out words in an attempt to hit a high note, but they just don't. Indeed, there's the second problem, the little issue with letting a joke stop. Exotic Butters was the fourth in a string of jokes spilled out by the hand unit. The Eggs Benedict, the Angsty Teen, the Casual Bongos, and I wouldn't exactly say that all of those are knee slappers. Oh, Eggs Benedict? That's not a name. That's a food. Ha ha ha, Angsty Teens would be the worst narrators. The Casual Bongos just fails because, the bongos actually slap. I would say Exotic Butters is the only one that works, and that's because of the payoff, because it's the full joke, and not just hand unit said something dumb joke, but something a little more substantial. And that's why the semi-frequent callbacks to Exotic Butters kind of falls flat, because it's no longer there, it's just a wink and a cheeky grin. But in the grand scheme of things, why is Exotic Butters so important? And why am I bringing all this stuff about FNAF's humor up when talking about this single lone meme? Well, Sister Location is when FNAF started to work in that more direct sense of humor, where it became more self-referential, and the success and memeability, if that's a word, of Exotic Butters might have been what cemented this direction. Now, again, don't get me wrong, that's not to say Fnaf isn't funny. There still are moments that do hit right. I find Glamrock Freddy to have a few lines that aren't really, ha-ha funny, but they are amusing. Monty's goofy, "You can hide, but you can't hide," that works too. It's when the games are trying to remind us they're funny that it doesn't work. All this hoopla for a basket of melting butters, not even as valuable as the cash basket. Or is it? So, when Sister Location came out, so did a full line of merchandise. There was a line of plush toys released that consisted of Circus Baby, Ballora, Funtime Freddy, Foxy, Ennard, and the much-coveted Exotic Butters plush, a basket with soft, removable butter bars inserted inside. Now, I never saw this plush in the wild because it was immediately snatched off the shelves. It was almost impossible to find shortly after release, and like a good amount of Fnaf merch, it was then resold on eBay for exorbitant prices, and that's for a plush that is just a basket of butter. No cute faces like Squishables or anything, it is just sticks of butter. But there was one piece of merch, also butter-shaped, that I will unironically proclaim as my favorite piece of Fnaf merch. So, Fnaf did a line of little die-cast race cars, and they were cute. The characters were done in chibi designs and each in their own tailored race car. Freddy's in a microphone, Golden Freddy's in a pizza oven, Toy Chica in a cake slice, Cupcake in a cupcake pan, Foxy in a pirate ship, Lolbit in a computer monitor, and the puppet in his box. And Ennard in the Exotic Butters basket. This little Ennard Buttercar combo is one of the cutest things I've seen come out of this franchise. I love this precious little bab. Here's mine. Remember when I said the Exotic Butters joke went on too long? I was wrong. Look at this guy. He is worth every cameo that falls flat. Him and that headcanon that Ennard's like really into butter that you'll see in the fandom. Anywho, that's the story of Exotic Butters and a rant on humor, the most subjective thing in existence. Thank you for watching.